today we are going to do a nice low bun, and it's going to be soft and it's going to be simple, and it can be used on a bride or it can be used on a bridesmaid. Fairly versatile. So I've already prepped my mannequin head and sectioned it away. So I have the front sectioned from the top of her hair to her ears, sectioned away. And then I have taken the rest of her hair, so from here, top of her head all the way to the bottom, and divide it in half. So you're going to take the top section first, clip that away. And then what you will need today is a small elastic, a fine tooth comb, hairspray, and a curling iron, and bobby pins. We always need bobby pins. Okay, so what we're gonna do with the bottom section is, after it's been prepped and ready to go, I'm gonna go through and back comb this section. So I'm gonna lightly take horizontal sections, and back comb them all like this. And we're creating our nice foundation. So we have some bobby pins. We'll have the spot to grip into, and it will stay secure and hold longer by doing a little bit of back combing. So you want to make sure that this all through here is back combed. I didn't have to do a ton because the mannequin doesn't have very thick hair. But if she has really thick hair, then I recommend going through and really making sure you're getting each section. So after we've done that, then we're going to go through and put it into a low ponytail. So we will take our elastic, and on a real person, she's gonna have a lot of little hairs down here. So you wanna make sure to get those all up in the hair binder. You can use a little bit of pomade or a gripping product like that to get all those little hairs up. And then you can make sure you have a nice clean bottom. I'm gonna put that ponytail in like so. And we're gonna make sure it's even. It's a little bit towards me. Okay. All right. So now that we have this is going to be our first section for the bun. So I am going to curl the bottom. I'm going to actually take all of her hair and go through and curl it. So we get a little bit of bend in the bottom like that. You don't need to do a lot, just enough to get a bend in the bottom because we're going to be wrapping it around. And then what we're gonna do is take this into two sections. So divide it in half, and I'm going to back comb each section a little bit. So back comb like that. Okay, and I'm gonna take this section and I'm gonna back comb it a little bit. And what this does is just create more volume. It makes your bun a little bit bigger. It gives something for the bobby pins to hold into. And then you have more hair to work with because as you back comb, it kind of spreads it out a little bit. So these are two sections that we're going to pin. I'm going to take one and I'm just going to pin it away so it's out of the way for us, okay? So you can use a bobby pin or just clip it away. So now we have this section, and I'm going to smooth this top part. So now that I've back combed it, I'm smoothing over it with my comb. And I'm going to pin it that way, so toward the front of her head. We're going to go through and just put one pin in. Get around it here. And we're making a loop. So you can see I made one loop. You see that loop? Okay. If you need to do two, that's okay. You just want to make sure that stays nice and secure. And you can spread it out a little bit, like that. So now we have that one. You can see we've done it to that side. Now we have this tail, and I'm going to bring it up and around and pin that one as well. So by keeping these nice and full with the back combing, we can spread it out a little bit and make them as big as you want them to be. All right, I'm going to give that a little bit of a spray. Make sure that looks good. Looks nice. All right, so then I'm going to take my other section out and do the same thing, but I'm going to do it towards me this time. So we have two sections here, back combed, and I'm going to smooth it out a little bit so we don't see any of that frizz. And I'm going to roll it and pin it. So right in the middle. And I'm pinning it into that back comb that I've created when we made the ponytail, so it has a nice place to stay. And I'll spread it out a little bit with my fingers. So you can see I've spread this out and made it a little bit wider, like that. And then I'm going to also take this tail and bring it back up and pin that. Okay, and then I have one piece left, so I am going to bring that down underneath like so. So I'll make sure this is back combed. It is. Comb it, so we're going to smooth it just a little bit over my fingers. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did on that side because I'm creating balance. So whatever I do on this side, I want to do on this side so it looks the same. I'm going to pull that over, take a bobby pin, and tuck that into the back combing that we've created. And you can kind of spread it out as need be. So now what I'm going to do, that I have this one piece left, is I'm going to take a look at it and see what part needs to be filled in. So I'll take a look, and I see down here is sort of a space that's uneven. So I'm going to take this piece and bring it up there to fill that in. So I'm going to do the same thing that I've done to all these pieces, where I'm going to back comb just a little bit, smooth it over, and then this piece I'm going to roll up. I'm going to pin it in there. And again, I'm going up into that back combing that we created when we had the ponytail. I'm grabbing the hair and pinning it up. So at this point, you have a great base for your bun, and you can give it a little bit of a spray. Make sure all the little flyaways are in, and take a look at it and see if any pieces need to be spread out, if anything's looking a little uneven, or if it's looking pretty good. So I don't like how this is just kind of bunched together, so I'm going to pull it apart like that. And then I want to put another bobby pin in because it loosened up when I did that. So put a little pin in there and then spread it out. So it's all about making balance, and you start by making good balance when you're making your base, and then as you build, you can fill in the gaps to make sure you have a nice even updo. Now for the top section, I'm going to do essentially the same thing and just build around what I've already created. So like I said, this has already been prepped with hairspray and some dry shampoo and texture spray throughout. So I'm just going to go through and back comb a little bit in here because I want to have a little bit of a lift at her crown. If they don't want to have a lot of lift there, then you don't have to go through and back comb, but I like a little bit of volume on most of my updos unless the client specifically says they want it to be flat. Okay, so now this one I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. I'm going to do another ponytail. So I'll get my second elastic. I'm going to do it sort of loosely here. And pull it up and make sure it's even. So this is where I can kind of create a little bit of lift in through here by pulling. And if you want it to be a little bit undone, you can pull with your fingers. If you want something neat and smooth, you can go through with the back comb or with the tail comb and lift in this direction. And that will give it more of a smooth look. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with this. But first what I want to do is actually put a little pin in here. So this is feeling kind of loose and floppy. So what I'm going to do is take the pin and just put it right at the top of the elastic and put it down into the back combing that I've created there. And that will keep it from popping up. Okay, so now we have two sections. And I'm going to curl the bottom. Just getting a little bit of bend in the bottom because that's what I'm going to need to wrap and pin. And do the same thing on the other side. Now her hair is not super thick, so I can just divide it into two. If you are dealing with someone who has really thick hair here, you might just want to do it into maybe 3 or 4. And if it's really fine hair, you could actually just do 1. So because her hair is sort of medium, I'm going to take this piece now, drop my comb. If it was a real client, I would get a new one, but this is a mannequin. Okay, so I'm going to back comb this piece like we did the other ones. And then I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Now I want this to be a little bit bigger off the back of her head. So I'm actually going to roll it under so it's coming out a little bit. Let's see. So I'm going to roll it this way and hold it, and I'm actually holding onto one of the other curls that I created before and tucking it right into it. So this is pinning into one of my lower curls. But I'm really intentional about where I put it. So I'm not just jamming it anywhere because I don't want to flatten the ones I've created below. So I'm finding a little space and sticking it right into the hole from a curl that I created down below. And I have a little bit of a tail, and so I want to find a good spot for that. So I'm going to roll it and tuck it into the middle here. And again, I'm going to pin into the updo that I have at the bottom already without flattening out the other curl. So I'm kind of feeling with my fingers to find a good spot to put that in. And I'm going to go through and do that on the other side. So we're going to go through and back comb and smooth. And then I'm going to roll it like this. Take a pin and I'm going to find my spot to put it. Spread it out a little bit. And then I have one last piece here. So this is where I'm going to take a look at what I've got going on. Oops, that came loose. So I'm going to put 2 pins in there, one on each side, to make sure that that doesn't happen for realza on the wedding day. Okay, there you go, like that. So I'm going to look and see where I need a spot. So when I'm looking at it, I'm feeling like I could kind of roll it in here, and then I'll go back and spread that out. So this is where I want to put it right here, because that's where I have a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to roll it up to get those ends in, because she's a mannequin, I haven't cut her hair. So she has really terrible ends, and that's a good tip for a bride or a bridesmaid who has not gotten a haircut in a while. Just roll all the ends under themselves so none of the ends are sticking out if they're really fried. So this is all the hair now tucked up, and what you want to do when you get to this point is really take a close look at it and see where you need to fill in gaps. And if you do, then you want to spread it out a little bit. So you can, because you've back combed, you can kind of pull like that. You can see how I've pulled that up a little bit. And I might just take a pin here and stick it in like that. Same with this side, I can sort of pull this up and see if I need to put a little pin in to help it stay. There we go. And so I am liking how this looks. So if you like it, then what you want to do is give it a good hairspray and make sure all the little flyaways are in, all the hair is in off the neck. And this is a great base for a nice soft updo. So you can see it just really soft curls. It's not a lot going on. It can be kind of gussied up with any sort of jewels or comb or anything like that. But this you can also do on short hair too. You can just roll the hair once instead of rolling it twice, where we did one pin and then another section. You could just do the one and roll it into itself. And that is a great way to start out a really beautiful low bun. Thanks for joining me.